Hey everybody, it's Mike Jeffers, ChicagoJazz.com, and this is episode 85 of Jazz. This week, we are here at Johnny O's, as usual, corner of 35th and Morgan, famous hot dog stand / liquor store right here in Bridgeport. Come on down sometime. Actually, red alert, episode 90, I'm going to have a live studio audience, so if you're interested, hit me up. We only have 10 spots available. Now, we are doing something completely different. We are off of the beautiful checkered table that I normally have here, Lewis. Mm-hmm. I am here with Lewis Achenbach, the famous artist, the Jazz Occurrence. I'm sure you have seen him at Fulton Street Collective painting, at the Jazz Showcase painting, at the Chicago Jazz Festival painting, at the Green Mill paint. I'm running out of things. Maze Lake, City Winery. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
It's not stopping.
But he's got a show coming up December 13th, and we're also going to talk about everything else that he has going on. But Lewis, thanks for being on the show. How do you enjoy? Are you enjoying the beautiful art gallery that we've displayed here at Johnny O's?
This is nice. It's a pop-up show.
It's
Johnny O's. I like it.
That's it, man. I think
cool.
we're onto something.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something. Okay, so I wanted Lewis to be on this show because you have a show coming up December 13th, but also you're one of the only, very few, I think there's one or two other people, but I think you are one of the originators of this, painting live jazz performances. So what he does is he's at the performance, and there's a group performing on stage, and you will see him in the audience or positioned off the side of the stage, and you are actually getting inspiration from what they're playing, and you're painting live, which is incredible. It's another way of improvisation and adding it into the music. Yeah. So now you have a show coming up December 13th.
Yes.
And where is that? Give us the lowdown.
So we're talking about Constellation Chicago.
And you do a lot of stuff at Constellation.
Yeah. Mike Reed has been very good and very supportive of what I've been doing. I'm not always out there on the floor. Right. Sometimes I'm like behind a curtain.
Okay.
I call that cave painting. So it's like I'm not even...
Is that so you're not distracting from the audience a little bit? You're kind of back, but then you're... Yeah, okay.
And it can be a last minute thing too. It means I can sort of jump in on a gig, the day before or a week before, not be part of the bill, that kind of thing, and just sort of do my thing. And if it's up to them, if the musicians want me, say like, and Lewis has been back here doing something, and I sort of pop up behind the magic curtain like the Wizard of Oz guy and go like, hey,
I was going to say, it's like the Oz, the man behind the curtain comes out. But you also sell all of these pieces of art, right? So, that's the purpose of it.
That keeps the machine going.
Yeah.
And another thing I like to try to do here is have the art create more art, which means a lot of these folks are very, very kind and generous enough to do the work or do like one of my gigs, like this Jazz Occurrence, for art. Straight up.
Sure, yeah, they come out.
It's a trade. It's an art exchange.
That's awesome.
And they're into it. After this point, they're sort of like, yeah, I'd rather have the piece of art than this useless currency thing that you can go buy whatever you want with, but you get a piece of art, which is nice.
That's right. I think that's way more valuable than a couple $100.
I'm hoping so.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. Now you have, first off, you have this painting. Now this is something that you did live, right?
Right. If we're gonna switch over to another sort of zone, which I do, which is contemporary classical, which you might not think about it though, that the jazz improvised community and the contemporary classical very much cross over. If you ask those folks, they're in.
So you're outside of it. So it's not just jazz. You're doing contemporary classical stuff, which would be like what? Is that like a string quartet? Is that?
Yeah. So this is Sarah Sue Jones at the Chicago Cultural Center from Make Music Chicago Day this last summer. This one over here is Picosa from Maze Lake Peasbody Estates from a few days ago.
Okay.
And so this is straight up, they're doing traditional stuff. They're also doing very experimental, cool things too. And that all feeds to me. As long as I love it when I don't know what's coming at me when I'm doing a gig.
Right.
And that's what's great about especially jazz music and improvised stuff is that it starts with a blank canvas. I try to start with a blank mind. And the music literally actually does tell me what to do.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So when you get inspiration doing this stuff, you're like you don't know what's going to happen. Right. You've probably seen some of these jazz groups now in the past a couple of times, but you don't know what's going to happen.
No.
And so is it like all of a sudden these triggers start going off in your mind and you just start going with what you're doing? Because you don't have a plan beforehand, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I like to think I try to start with a plan, but that always goes out. You know, when I start hearing it, I really like to think about it, not sort of get abstract a little bit. I like to think that the painting exists already, and my job is to sort of just to be there as a body with a head and hands on it to make the painting happen. You know, I know that's kind of an odd thing to say,
man,
but
I'm trying to digest it all. You know,
if I work that way, then it frees me up. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. It's like, and it also gives me a like, okay, that already exists. You just got to be there, man. Yeah. To make it happen. Yeah. And in that sense, like I said, it frees it up so that I just have to be there to make it sure. Now, there's the basic tenets of art is there, sort of like positive, negative space. Yeah. What color is going to work together. It's very much about listening, not just to the music, but listening to the painting itself, in a sense, like letting this thing talk to me and say, like, let's go this way. And if I fight that, I'll work myself into a corner, and then I can work myself out of that corner in real time, much like musicians do.
Well, now, so you've got something coming up December 13th, and that's at Constellation. Is that what we're doing here?
Yes, it is. That's what we're talking about. So we're talking Constellation Chicago. So we're talking, it's going to open up with a documentary about the Jazz Occurrence by David Weathersby. Ah, okay. So there's going to be some talking heads. There's going to be some music. There's going to be artists who have been involved in the project since the last 5 years. And some of the talking heads in the documentary will be playing at the concert that's going to start at 9.
So that's December 13th, Constellation. How can they get tickets to that?
They can go on Constellation's website.
Okay. I think it's constellation-chicago.com.
I think so. You can also get a link from my website, which is lewisachenbach.com.
And we'll link it all up. Yeah. We'll link it all up below. And now if people are watching this after December 13th, let's talk a little bit. So you've got your first book that you put out. This was what year was this?
This is drawings from 2012 to 2014.
Okay, so these are like prints of drawings that you've done, and there's little stories below.
Well, the words are all from the musicians that are depicted.
Ah, okay.
That's the sort of hook with this, is that it's not words from me. They're talking about the gig, the weather, how that went down, which is very cool. It kind of sort of authenticates and sort of makes this a document. Yeah. In a sense, you know.
Your brand new one, which is a coloring book, but why don't you explain the coloring book? Because this doesn't look like, draw inside the lines for Mickey Mouse here. This is some serious stuff.
I think I actually tell the kids to draw outside the lines and make your own lines. It's so how about I read this like it's a talk show?
Hey, that would be great.
Welcome to the first Jazz Occurrence coloring book. Listen to the music while you color. Color outside the lines. Create your own lines. Surround the musicians with waves and forms of solid sound. Do your thing. Ask yourself, what can I do that no one else can do?
I would assume that this is like the perfect Christmas gift. I mean, it's got to be the perfect holiday gift. I mean, this is it, right?
If you order it, you're going to get it between Christmas and New Year's.
Can't beat that. All right, so all the information, lewisachenbach.com. Now, as we talked before, I always have my 3 picks of the week. Yeah. So we got to do my 3 picks of the week. Okay. And you actually brought up another pick. Okay. So we're going to talk. Why don't we talk about your pick first, which is coming up December 14th. Yes. At the Jazz Record Art Collective at Fulton Street.
Fulton Street Collective.
There, Fulton Street Collective.
At the Hubbard Street Lofts.
Yes.
I always a great venue. It's
Well, you've been painting with them for a long time. Chris Anderson, right. Who produces the entire thing.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah.
They usually have 2 or 3 a month, sometimes 4 a month. And what they end up doing, for those of you that are not familiar, and chime in because you know all about this stuff, they'll pick a classic album, bring in some of the top musicians in Chicago, and they recreate the entire album from start to finish live right there in front of you.
It's beautiful.
So December 14th, they are recreating the Duke Ellington Nutcracker Suite.
Oh, that's nice.
On December 14th. Okay, now I've got my 3 picks, and I always have to do my disclaimer. I don't know if you've seen my disclaimer, but I want to make sure. So these are 3 picks that I think that if you are looking for somewhere to go, somewhere to see, some people to see, I should say, or a new venue to experience, these are 3 picks. But these are by no means the only great music happenings in Chicago in the next week and a half, because I've got one that's coming up in a couple of weeks as an early warning. So these are my 3 picks. Now, I know we talked a little bit, December 15th and 16th at the Green Mill Matt Wilson, the great drummer, is coming in town. He does it every year. And he's coming in town because it is the Matt Wilson Trio Christmas Trio. And now Lou's holding that up because this is what he painted at the Chicago Jazz Fest this past summer. And that is Matt Wilson. And that is Abigail Rickards. And that is Dave Gemolo, the great owner of the Green Mill.
Soon to be in his collection.
Soon to be. And he's actually taking that there. And when I brought up my pick, he went out to the car, brought it in. I mean, talk about synergy, right? Mm-hmm. Just tying everything together, man. This show is like just well-oiled machine, man. Just, whoo, we're ready for prime time. Trust me. I'm going to jump over to Winters Jazz Club. I love Winters Jazz Club. I know I talk about them a lot, but they have different groups there every single night. That's why I have to talk about them at least once a week because Winters is right there in Streeterville, right on McClurg Court, right behind the Target, right on the Ogden Slip. You've been there, I'm sure, to Winters.
I need to paint there is what I need to do.
You do need to paint there. You need to talk to Scott, the owner. He's awesome. And
okay. You know a guy? You know the guy?
I got a guy.
Okay.
I got a guy. I'll hook you up.
Good. Let's do it.
Yeah. No, he would probably be very into it. And it's such an intimate club. So if you've not been to Winters, you've got to check it out. And what better time to check it out than my second pick of the week, which is December 19th. It is a holiday show called We Three Sing, featuring a full band, right? Jazz trio, but 3 vocalists, Paul Marinaro, Elaine Dame, and Rose Colella. 3 great vocalists are going to be performing holiday tunes, probably in a very unique way, in a very intimate club. So, of course, wintersjazzclub.com for all the info. That's December 19th. And now, you know, these guys, the Chicago Jazz Orchestra. This is an early warning, but December 22nd, they are going to be doing the Duke Ellington Nutcracker Suite, among some other holiday music. It's going to be at the Studebaker Theater, right there in the Fine Arts Building, Studebaker Theater. So it's the Chicago Jazz Orchestra, December 22nd, and it's called Not So Silent Night. So they're going to play the Duke Ellington Nutcracker Suite and other great holiday tunes. It starts at 7:30. All the information is chicagojazzorchestra.org. So there's my 3 picks. You got your 1 pick in. Of course, December 13th, if you're watching this before that, and if not, you got to go check him out. And of course, they can buy some of these prints, some of these actual pieces of art, along with prints at lewisachenbach.com. Lewis, thanks for coming on the show. I'm glad you came down and you spruced up Johnny O's Hot Dogs right here on 35th and Morgan. Now, I've got to get, because just because I'm standing up doesn't mean I don't have my Revolution beer or my Chicago-style hot dog.
I have one of those right in here.
He already ate his. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching the show. If you like this, leave us a comment below. Of course, the podcast is going to be dropping after the first of the year with Lewis. And until next week, if I don't see you somewhere on this weekend, I will see you somewhere out on the scene.